Did you know that as of 1988, Carignan was the most planted cultivar in all of France? What's more, there are over 70 synonyms or different names for this cultivar. Perhaps even more confusingly, Carignan is not even the original name. In fact, it's just a French synonym for a grape that is almost certainly indigenous to the Spanish region of Aragon. Now, you'd be completely justified in being annoyed at the seemingly gratuitous level of nicknames and synonyms, but as it turns out, there is at least some academic or intellectual positive side effect to all this nomenclative numbskullery. Because as it turns out, this insanely high number of entrenched regional synonyms actually come together to form evidence that can support the theory that it is almost certainly Spanish in origin. Because of all these names, it has most likely existed in Spain for longer than it has anywhere else. And because of the vast amount of said evidence, it also supports the theory that Carignan is in fact a very, very old cultivar. And if that is all true, it explains why it's been so hard for DNA profilers and ampelographers to find any direct DNA link to supposed parent cultivars, because it may well have been spawned eons ago by two cultivars that have since gone extinct. You don't need to know all 70 of the synonyms, but it probably is worth remembering Carignana, Carignan, and Mazzuello, because those are the most commonly used. Now, we're talking about Carignan because today's hand solo wine of the day is the Alinea Carignan, which is made with fruit from the Breedekloof region in the South African winelands and is tended by the legendary winemaking couple of Ferdie and Elisme Visser, who are of course connected to Olifantsberg estate. But the wine is made by the award-winning winemaker Natasha Jacker. Natasha Jacker is the founding member of Alinea Wines. She is also the inaugural winner of the FedEx Wine Mag Next Gen Winemakers Award. Natasha is a chef by training and she's done plenty of work in fine dining restaurants, but she very quickly traded sculleries and veggie patches for vineyards and cellars. Currently, she's producing wines with fruit from all over the South African winelands, but she has planted some of her own vineyards in No.353. She makes all of her wines over the hill in her cellar in Hermanus, and her initial release of wines has included this particular Carignan and also a rather remarkable Sauvignon Blanc. But her next release will also include a Viura and a Grenache Noir. So my top tip would be to watch her very closely, because I think early adopters to the Alinea brand will indeed be in for a treat when the rest of her range is released. So what should Carignan taste like? Well, honestly, who the heck knows what it should taste like anymore? Because if you consult one source, you will no doubt be told that it should taste of cranberries, raspberry, licorice, cured meat, and baking spices. And then when you consult a completely different source, you'll be told that it should taste of pepper, cherry, blackberry, banana, almond, prune, and violet. Of course, there are some things that most people can agree on, and that's the fact that it's quite tricky to work with in the cellar. First of all, because it has really brawny tannins, and also because it has really obvious, quite bracing acidity. And this is why, where it's really prominent in Spain and in the south of France, it's almost always used as a blending partner with cultivars like Grenache or Cinsault. And really, in this context, the softer floral and fruit type cultivars of Grenache and Cinsault often borrow a little bit of structure from the brawny Carignan, and Carignan in return, I guess, uses those more gentle cultivars as a wig and some lipstick in order to get the hog through the church door. But this particular Carignan is absolutely nothing like any of those, and that's why I think it's one of the most exciting wines I've discovered this year. Now, when we get into the glass and give this guy a sniff, I guess what we get is what I wish all South African Carignans would smell like. The nose is just so pretty. It's kind of like a Monica Potter type nose, which is delicate but memorable. You get these really pretty spice elements of cloves, star anise, kind of 5-spice powder. And then on the fruit front, you get cherry and also a little bit of toffee apple candy with really lovely ripe strawberry elements. And then, as Matilda predicted, you do get that pepper element. But it's not just any old pepper. This is the most beautifully poised Madagascan sweet pink peppercorn type note. When we give this wine a sip, well, the experience really is completely coherent, because again, you've got a beautiful, light, poised, complex wine in the glass. Please note, I never condone a wine being light just for the sake of being light. If you want to make a light wine, then as a winemaker, you have to know, or be confident at least, that there will be intensity and complexity added in other ways in order to still deliver a great wine. And this wine manages to have both of those, because you do get that beautifully poised red berry, cherry, cranberry, a little bit of raspberry. We talked about the sweeter strawberry, but actually the star of the show is all those spice elements that flow over the top, because as they're there on the nose, they come through on the palate. Beautiful, crystal clear, clean cloves, 5 spice powder, pink Madagascan peppercorn. Especially as the fruit begins to fade, the finish actually is all about the spice. Now, were South Africa able to apply for its own textbook definition of what its Carignan should taste like, I firmly believe that this wine should be the absolute reference point when filling out that particular page. Finally, if you want to get an idea of what some other South African winemakers are doing with the cultivar of Carignan, I've left a link to 2 different videos on South African Carignans, and these will give you a slightly fuller idea not only of what our winemakers are up to, but also what our viticulturists are doing in the dynamic South African wineland.